What's up, everybody, and welcome into the 24/7 Sports College Basketball Show. I'm your host, Adam Finkelstein, and we have an exciting show for you here today. It's going to begin with the live commitment from Nigel James, but before we get there, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. You are looking at one of the most dynamic guards in the national class of 2025, 6 feet, a big-time playmaker with the ball in his hands, but also an outstanding defender. He's really grown in terms of his overall explosiveness in the last year. He plays with pace. He's got a terrific first step. He's got long arms and deceptive power around the rim to match that layup-making ability. A four-star prospect, ranked 85th overall in the national class, a top 15 point guard. And as I said, 6 feet, 182 pounds. He is increasingly powerful. Without further ado, we are going to go live to the Nike Peach Jam, where Nigel James is greeting us with his parents and his Expressions Elite teammates behind us. Nigel, thanks for doing this with us, my man.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me.
So, Nigel, I know this has been a long process for you. I remember watching you play as an underclassman, seeing your recruitment grow over the years. What has all of this been like to go through these years and to get to this day?
It's been great. It's been very stressful. Had a lot of ups and downs during the journey. Had my parents by my side the whole time, so that's really all I need. My sister, best friend. But it's been very humbling and a great experience to be able to have opportunities like this.
All right, now Nigel, you're down to 3 finalists. They've all recruited you hard. You've got Rutgers, you've got Marquette, you got Georgia Tech. Only one is going to be lucky enough to get your commitment. I know you guys got a game coming up at 6 o'clock, so we can't drag this out any longer. Where are you going to be playing your college basketball?
First, I want to thank God, my family, my parents, my best friends, everybody that's been in front of me. And Jerry Powell, my trainer, my coaches from Expression, my coaches from Lou High. I'm thankful for it all. So that being said, I'll be committed to.
Got gold there from Marquette. All right, a huge commitment for Shaka Smart and Marquette, getting his second top 100 national prospect. Nigel, congratulations, first of all. Second of all, what would you tell Marquette fans who haven't seen you play yet? What are they getting in Nigel James?
I'm a winner, someone that's going to play hard all the time, that's here to win for their team, someone that's going to push everybody, and just someone that's a winner.
No doubt about that, and someone who keeps getting better at every step along the way. Nigel, you and those guys behind you, you tip in 55 minutes. I know you got to go get ready. I'm going to see you tomorrow morning. I'm looking forward to it. Congratulations, and go get that dub, all right?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, everybody. That is Nigel James, fresh off the commitment to Marquette. Here's why this is a big deal for Shaka Smart. A couple different reasons. One, they are getting ready for life after Tyler Kolek, arguably the best point guard in college basketball the last 2 years. This year, they've got Cam Woods, they've got Stevie Mitchell coming back, but those guys are both true seniors. So next year, you're looking at a scenario where they're going to have to fill a lot of minutes in that backcourt. Nigel James is someone who comes in ready to impact the game on both ends of the floor. Marquette, a lot has been said about their offense in recent years, and Nigel James is absolutely a playmaker with the ball in his hands. But Marquette also had a top 20 defense in the country last year. And in terms of a tip of the spear for your half-court defense, this is a guy Marquette fans are going to love. He can pressure the ball. He can guard for the length of the floor. He can get over ball screens. Going to be a definite asset for Marquette on both ends of the floor. All right, again, big thank you to Nigel James for doing that with us. For much more coverage, including further quotes and analysis, you can visit 247sports.com. Of course, we've got your wall-to-wall team coverage, recruiting rankings, transfer portal updates, you name it, one-stop shopping, especially during this current live period. It's amazing how much coverage we've been able to pump out over there on 247sports.com. All right, now I'd like to welcome in two of my colleagues, Eric Bossi and Travis Branham, to help us break down the first week of the live period. Guys, we just saw Nigel there. He's live from the Peach Jam. They haven't slowed down. College coaches come back out on Friday, but Nike's still playing. I'm headed there tomorrow. We all bounced around. Trav, you were at the Peach Jam. Bossi, you and I were at Adidas, and Adidas is the first major sneaker circuit to crown a national champion, and you were there on Championship Sunday when Utah Prospects won their second consecutive title. What stood out to you as you watched that championship semifinals and finals?
A lot stood out to me, but what really stood out to me was the leadership of Ikenna Alozie, a top 10 player in the class of 2026 for the Utah Prospects. You know, he did everything for them. Maybe he's not the best outside shooter, but at 6'3", he's an electric athlete, big time combo guard who was really basically doing his best Russell Westbrook impersonation. The guy was getting to the rim at will, finishing with big dunks. He was posting guys up. And then for a team that top to bottom plays incredible team defense, he was really setting the tone there. Like you can see the big dunks there. Just an exciting guy, a guy that in the class of 2026 has Kansas, Arizona State, BYU, Oregon, UCLA, all kinds of big time schools after him. You know, just showed why he's the number one ranked combo guard in his class and why he's ranked number 10 nationally. And his team fed off of him. And we're talking about a team that, while very strong, they were missing the guy who is presumably going to be their star this summer, 5-star shooting guard Isaiah Harwell, who was out with a knee injury all summer long. So to go and win back-to-back championships of a really loaded Adidas event was really, really impressive. And I think Ike deserves a lot of the credit in that.
No doubt. I'm glad we had him in the top 10 going into the summer. You know what I like about him? For a guy who's so physically imposing, I think his skill set has made nice strides. It's, you know, his physicality is what differentiates him, obviously, in the backcourt, but I think we're seeing a clear progression in terms of the things he can do with the ball in his hands. So that was exciting for me to see as well. All right, Trav, we said you have already been to the Peach Jam. I am headed there tomorrow. The big story at the Peach Jam, AJ DeBonza, Cayden Boozer, both 14-1 in the regular season with their respective teams. Will they end up in the finals against each other? We will know that in a few days, but there's been some recruiting buzz about the Boozer twins as well. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, they have taken several visits up to this point. They've been to Duke, they've been to Florida, they've been to Miami, and there have been other schools involved in rumblings, pardon me, if he could potentially take a visit to North Carolina. Now, John Calipari and the Arkansas Razorbacks were also at his games watching him. Now, you also have to note that Caleb Wilson, a high priority Arkansas target, is also on his team. So they are keeping eyes on both players. But when you talk around Peach Jam, this recruitment is revolving around 3 schools. Miami, who is the presumed leader early on in this recruitment, believe it or not. Duke, of course, and also Florida. Again, they have already gotten him on a visit. And Todd Golden was also courtside and continuing to follow him. And like I said, Miami was the leader early on in this recruitment. Now, sounding that things are tightening up and that this is becoming a bit of a toss-up. And there is one other area to monitor. There's been some buzz. Is there a chance that Cayden and Cameron will actually not be a package deal in the years for their freshman year in college? And now, I don't believe that is the case. I think it is much expected that these two will remain a package deal. But there was some questions on the sidelines whether that would be going forward. And then again, this is a toss-up moving forward.
All right, Trav, I want to tell you my theory. This is not sourced. It's not reporting. I want to tell you my theory, and you tell me if this makes sense or not. I think these two want to play college basketball together. But I think I think they both need to be recruited separately because they might be on different paths. I think Cam is very clearly going to pursue a one and done path. That's the expectation. Cayden, I'm not sure if that's a foregone conclusion or not. So I think it is incumbent on whichever of those 3 schools or another school is recruiting them to not only sell those two on playing together next year, not only sell Cam on the one and done path, but sell Cayden on a plan that maximizes his future, whether that's a 1-year plan, 2-year plan, 3-year plan, or whatever the case may be. So while I do believe, like you said, I think that they're likely to play together, it's almost like you have to recruit them separately. Am I off on that, or is there some validity there?
No, I would definitely say there's validity. I mean, just as evaluators, I would say we're not scratching Cayden off as not being an NBA type prospect. I mean, we're talking about a 6'4", big, strong point guard that wins everywhere he plays. A kid that's a very good, impactful defender. Now, we have seen year over year just be a floor general, a guy that sets the table for everyone around him. Now, the biggest weakness in his game has undoubtedly been him been his shooting ability, especially from three. Now, if you watched him from the time that he was in 8th grade, like I have, up to this point, I mean, the progression in his jump shot, while he still has plenty of room to continue growing as a shooter, the growth he has made since he was in 8th grade and as a freshman up to this point has been tremendous. So this is a kid that we see keep getting better. So while you say you do probably have to recruit them a little different, a part of the Cayden recruiting pitch is this is our development plan for you. And maybe it may not be a one and done, but potentially a 2 and done or 3 and done type prospect, just to get that shot continuing to be more polished and be a bigger threat from beyond 3.
Yeah, and his ability to help drive winning, I think, is undeniable. All right, want to go back to Adidas here. Boss, we want to ask you about 2 of the better guards in the 3SSB circuit, and that's Mikel Brown and Braylon Mullins. Were there some recruiting updates or buzz about those 2 guys this weekend?
Yeah, I think there's starting to be some buzz about both of them for sure. I want to start off with Mikel Brown, who is really making a strong case. Even stronger already as the number 2 point guard in the country, is maybe the top point guard in the country. He was absolutely electric at the 3SSB event. He's pushing 6'4" size-wise, explosive athletically. But with the recruiting front, we're talking about a guy that I think in the spring we'll all agree it was widely accepted that Ole Miss was the runaway team to beat and that a commitment could be imminent. Now that has not happened. And Ole Miss is still in it, and they had an assistant watching him. But we're talking about a guy who things have opened up a little bit. First of all, he's got to pick where he's going to high school next year before he even picks a school. He's not going to be at Overtime Elite. There's a couple options out there. So once he gets that settled out, he's going to start setting up visits and things of that nature. But along with Ole Miss, there's probably 3 other schools, and there's room for more to get in there that I would have my eye on right now. I would be looking at Alabama. I would be looking at Kentucky, and I would also be looking at Texas. Rodney Terry was there on Saturday and Sunday watching Mikel, keeping a close eye on him. I think there's some steam building up for the Longhorns right there. Not enough to call them a leader or anything like that, but definitely someone that I want to keep an eye on with Ole Miss, Alabama, and Kentucky at this point.
Now, boss, let me ask you about this, because I think we've been ahead of the curve on Brown. We've had him in the top 10. I think that's right. I think he's poised to maybe even jump higher. And because you made the point there, I think he's embraced being a true point guard. I love that he's so talented with the ball, but the way he can see the entire floor, this really stood out for me at USA Basketball. The way he can see the entire floor, throw skip passes off the dribble with both hands and hit either corner. And is seemed to really embrace being as much of a distributor as he is a scorer, because we know he's hyper skilled with the ball in his hands. That part to me has been really impressive. Add on to that the fact that he's a late bloomer who's grown, I think it's 5 or 6 inches in the last year or 2. That to me just really changes his trajectory. So respond to that if you will, but then give us the update on Braylon Mullins as well, because a lot of fan bases are interested in that one.
Yeah, no doubt. You and I were at Overtime Elite back in the fall when we sat down with a lot of the kids there and did some in-depth interviews with them. And after we were done, Mikel pulled me aside and he asked me, he said, "Hey, what do you think about the direction I'm going in?" And I told him, flatly that I kind of thought he had stalled in his development a little bit and that we knew he could score, but he had to start showing the ability to make those around him better while also doing that. And he didn't get mad. He didn't get frustrated. He really took it to heart. And obviously we're not the be all end all. We're certainly not the only one telling him these things, but for a young prospect to not only seek out some advice on his game, but then take it to heart, not get offended, not be worried about anything like that, it shows that he's really about the right stuff. And the results are definitely showing with his game right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
All
right, Braylon Mullins, what's the latest?
So Braylon Mullins, it seems like everybody has jumped in on the top 25 shooting guard from Indiana. He picked up a Duke offer on Sunday. You've got North Carolina, you've got Kansas, you got UConn, you got Michigan, of course, home state Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, a long, long list. And I think this is a guy that we're going to see take a lot of visits, maybe 6, 7, 8 visits. He's going to get the full impact of all this. But heading into these visits, I firmly believe that there are probably 2 schools that have maybe opened up a little bit of a gap between the rest of them. And that's UConn, where he's going to take his first visit, and then Indiana, where he's going to visit in the middle of September. Indiana obviously is the home state school. He's got a lot of love for Indiana from what I've heard, and definitely some interest in the school. And UConn, of course, coming off of 2 straight national titles and showcasing what they can do with the development of players. And just the way he's wired, he kind of fits right in with them. Both were constant presences at his games while I was there. And I'm not saying it's just those two, but as he gets ready to jump into a very lengthy and deep recruiting process with the bluest of the blue bloods involved, I do think that UConn and Indiana begin the race just a little bit ahead of everybody else.
Here's the thing with that, though. Like, in theory, that's a great idea. But the reality is, by the time he's done taking those 8 visits, he's not going to have all 8 options left on the board, because those schools will likely have taken somebody else. When you're talking about schools of that nature, they're going to be recruiting more than one player at that position, and going to be put in a position where they might have to make a decision before he's ready to. So that's going to be a really interesting timetable to watch. Braylon Mullins was the biggest riser in last month's updated national rankings, jumped all the way up into the top 30. He's an elite shooter. I think he's an underrated defender as well. And obviously now he's just got everybody recruiting him. Guys, quick shout out, not just to you, but to the entire 24/7 sports team. Brandon Jenkins, Deshaun London, these guys were on the road in full force. And I should also say, not just the 5 of us, but the entire network of the team sites, and those guys were the amount of coverage that came out of the first week of the recruiting period is absolutely off the chart. So whether you're looking for the national stuff, which you can find on the 24/7 sports page, or you're looking for team centric stuff, which you can find on those individual sites, it was just a big time week. And I know we're going to get after it again this week. I'm headed to Nike. Trav, where are you headed?
I'll be at the 3SSB All-American camp and potentially bouncing around Atlanta, as many of these teams' seasons have come to a close. Some of these guys will be popping in through there with their AAU teams to continue on in front of college coaches.
And Boss, where are you going to be this week?
I'll be in Indianapolis for the Puma Next Pro circuit.
All right. Well, it's going to be another great week. Make sure you stay locked to 247sports.com for all the latest from the recruiting period. Remember, this is college coaches' last opportunity to see players with their grassroots team, at least in the 17 and under, before next week's NCAA Academy. So we will see you again next week. Remember, the 24/7 Sports College Basketball Show every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time. You can watch it on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel live. And, of course, you can go back and watch it anytime. As always, thanks a lot for watching.